Well, good morning. Welcome to our new series, going back to the foundational principles of a new earth and conscious living, which is based on my lifelong study and devotion to Taoism. And very, very key to Taoism, the symbol posted at the beginning of the video here of the yin yang of the Taoism, that everything in this philosophy is based on these principles of balance and harmony. I was thinking about that as you might be able to hear in the background, had pretty heavy rain all during the night. And it's an amazing thing here, whereas in some parts of the world, the balance of nature is represented in the changing seasons. I spent the last 25 years in USA and Minnesota. Of course, there now it's early spring and quite an amazing time in Minnesota after a very long and cold winter, the magic of spring. Well, here in Ecuador, we have two basic elements of nature that are always seeking to come into balance with each other, and that's the wet and the dry. This is traditionally the wet season, April and May, but we've had a very dry period, even though this is, so things are sort of out of balance. The local people do the planting in October, kind of plan on regular rainfall through April, May, do the harvest and around this time when it gets very wet, and then things go dormant for a while during the dry season of July and August. But anyway, always there is the thing you can count on, and I spend so much time out in nature, so you get a sense, okay, it's been very dry, it's been very dry, it's been very dry, and I do a lot of gardening, and it's kind of like feeling that sense of disharmony, because to come back into balance, we need more rain. So, but one of the things that I enjoyed when there's relatively lack of rain is that the river goes down, and I can do much more excavating, exploring, gem collecting, and all of that. So I realized that all of the excavation I've done the past 2 weeks or so, now with this big rain, it's all going to get washed away. And that's, again, part of my practice of just going with the flow, that just have to enjoy this change, which is evident in the river, the amount of rainfall we're getting. So, a lot less work for me when we have plenty of rain, because if it's dry, spend a lot of time watering the gardens and moving water from one tank to another and la la la. So anyway, water is a very key part of nature. And so I think if as we're learning about living in a new earth, much more in relationship, in harmony with nature, we pay attention to things like the balance in nature of hot and cold, dry and wet. And what I would offer is that whenever things appear out of balance, that there's always this growing evidence of how things will come back into balance. So my assessment of the world situation is so much of the disharmony and chaos we see in the world today is actually evidence of things moving back toward balance and harmony. I would say that if you think of here, the dry season as masculine, the wet season as feminine, it's just arbitrary, just to pick two. But you always have these two elements working to be in balance with each other, to find harmony with each other. And I would say that our sort of economic, political, religious climate in the world over the past several centuries has been overly dry, overly masculine. And now we're seeing this resurgence of what I would call the divine feminine, this feminine energy, which will appear to be chaotic as a lot of the masculine structures weaken and crumble. We're looking to see the whole system of the globe come back into a sense of balance between the masculine, the feminine, the dry, the wet, the hot, the cold. Again, nature will always seek balance and harmony. So if we allow, basically step back and observe and marvel and allow this balancing to happen, it's all a good thing. So much talk about climate change and if things are getting hotter or colder and all of that. And, again, humans, we have a certain impact on the world, but the world herself, okay, Mother Nature, she is so powerful and she will naturally move to bring things back into balance and harmony. And again, some of these processes take years, some take decades, some take centuries. Okay, so what I've been offering through my talks, my videos recently, is this idea that I keep pointing toward, that the birth of a new earth is the critical function of our world, our species today. Okay, so really focusing on this birth matrix, okay, where the divine feminine would lead us. She's the doula that will lead us in this process of birthing. We're called to make our contribution, no question. And that's very important for you as an individual to find out how best can you align yourself and serve this ongoing process, because the degree to which you align with it and give it your appreciation and enthusiasm, the happier you're going to be. The more you're angry about it, the more you're seeing it incorrectly, obviously the less happiness you're going to feel. To flow with what is, this is one of the essential principles of Taoism, this principle of flow, to flow with what is. So again, I would offer that the disharmony we see in the world is actually movement, okay? Movement back toward harmony. It's just like, again, I always refer to Minnesota as the place that I know best with the 4 seasons, and they grew up in New England, there's 4 seasons there, but you would say that, certain things, certain, like sometimes in Minnesota, there would be a spring blizzard. It's like, what? The middle, late April, even once it happened on May 2nd, a big snowstorm just before the end of winter. But really the big snowstorm is heralding the arrival of spring. It's the last expression of winter, but it's really a victory because spring is inevitable, okay? You can't stop this movement of the 4 seasons. So it's like whenever it seems most extreme, I know there's times in early January where it can be so freaking cold. It's like, oh, how are we going to get through this? But we do. Spring always comes, and then the summer, and the heat and humidity and mosquitoes, and there's always something about any season that is difficult. But at least for me, there are always 2 times. It used to be more in the autumn growing up in New England, but in Minnesota for me, it was in the spring that it was so magical, where you start seeing all of these perennials, popping up sometimes through the snow. Just amazing to see spring unfold. And so again, wherever you live, it's in your best interest to find a way to appreciate these changes. Okay, so now we're talking a global scale. We're talking about something that isn't about Minnesota or Ecuador. It's about the whole world. So how can we appreciate what is going on today? How can we see all of the upsets? How can we see that as, again, evidence of the movement toward balance and harmony? And how can we contribute to this movement toward balance and harmony? Again, Buckminster Fuller would say, don't waste your resources, your energy, your time, your money, whatever. Don't rail against the crumbling of the old institutions. Put all of your resources into building something new. So this for me is the key to my happiness, that I'm fully invested in always all of my resources, all of my energy, all of my time, all of my money into building this Oasis Center for Conscious Living, a model for living in a new earth. Okay? So that's key for me is again, don't add to the upset, add to the harmony, add to the peace, add to the, balance is really the more key thing, because it's not like everything's supposed to be, oh, la-di-da-di-da. Everything's just so tranquil and perfect. It's like we're going through the birth matrix. It's a difficult time. And so it's like just having the perseverance, having the being solid enough to endure this process of transformation. It's not easy, using the caterpillar butterfly metaphor. It's, if you're still attached to this caterpillar consciousness, it's a very frightening time. If you're early in your own birth matrix, you're in your mother's womb and you hear the drumming and everything is getting very chaotic and it's really difficult to breathe. It's really quite amazing, again, as a metaphor, that we have this pandemic of this respiratory disease, okay, that's killing people through suffocation. It's like we're birthing. This is what happens when you're birthing. If you remember, I've been rebirthed, so I remember exactly what it was like in those moments where everything was becoming like a pressure cooker. Yeah, the drumming was intense. I couldn't breathe. I was filled with tremendous anxiety. And then, whoa, wow, the light came and I was birthed into my life. That's what we're witnessing as a species, is the old being suffocated and dying so that the new can be born. So again, typically with any influenza type, it's always, taking out the old and the weak and whatever, and, making room now, because there's elements involved that are human, that have an agenda, that want to accelerate this process of eugenics, of evolution, of, cleaning out the weak and the old. It might seem a little extreme, but it's really, again, just evolution. Humans participating in this process is, again, part of evolution. We humans are certainly part of our global evolution for our species and all the other species that with whom we share the planet. So it's a marvel. It's a incredible time to be here. Again, for me, as I watch the rain bring things back into harmony here, destroying my excavation project down at the creek, it's like, oh well, just enjoy the change, enjoy the opportunity to be part of it, to give my greatest gift each day, which is to sit here with you. I get to do this despite the weather. I get to do this, and thank God for the technology. Thank God that, or not thank God, I meant to just, thank our evolution as a species, that the one thing that Homo sapien did very, very well is develop this network of communication where we can be with each other around the globe as one, using this amazing, beautiful technology. I mean, that's our one success as a, the former species. As we move into Homo blimbulus, we'll have a greater success in other arenas. But as Homo sapien, the one thing we did really well was create this electronic, energetic, information, communication possibility. We did it. We did it, and we're sharing it today. It's the one thing we should say thank you to for the last century of technology and all the weirdness that happened in the. If we say that the one thing that really came out of this via, even look at someone like Bill Gates, who now you can say is part of the demonic, energy that wants to destroy our species. The same individual also contributed in a big way to the development of the computer, the internet, the World Wide Web, this Zoom thing that we're doing now. It's quite ironic. It's quite magical. It's really amazing to try to see as God sees, see the big picture and go like, wow, this is really, really something that we get to be a part of this. And again, if you're able to join me and see the whole thing in this beautiful light, that all of the disharmony is really the movement back into balance and harmony. That's what's going on. That's what we're going to witness over the next decade. So if you can see it with, I wanted to write this little thing because I'm losing my body's eyesight. But as I lose the ability to see with the body's eyes, the true vision of my life becomes more and more clear. So is it easy to sacrifice this for this? Absolutely. Absolutely. To truly see clearly, drop the attachment to the way the body and the perceptive mind sees things. You can see differently. And there's a little wordplay too that I like to write down the word scared, okay? The very thing that would make you the most scared, what you're seeing with these eyes, once you shift your vision here, you will see it as sacred. The most scared, the most sacred. You're scared of the very thing that is the most sacred, our birthing. Okay, so learn to see, just shifting the see, scared, sacred. That's what's going on. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. I love you. Have an amazing day. Enjoy the rain. Enjoy whatever's going on in your part of the world that's significant in this time of transformation. Bless you. I love you.